What's up everyone, welcome back to Cali Plants. It's me again, Mark. Yeah, it's Mark, not Cali. Okay, and for today's video, we're gonna be talking about succulent advice that I would give to a younger me. Now, if you're already a long-time viewer here at the channel, you would know that I've been through a lot of ups and downs while growing these succulents because I've been growing them for about a year now, and I've done mistakes before that I don't wanna let other people make again, so I don't want other beginners to make again. So these are advice that I would give to my own if I was able to talk to a younger me. So I think that maybe this could help a lot of you beginners as well when it comes to growing succulents. Now let's go to the first one, and that is take your time. Now as a beginner, you might be getting very excited when it comes to succulents because there are a lot of different varieties of succulents. They are very beautiful and some of them can even be sold for very cheap, so you might have the extra money to buy a lot of succulents, but I think that you will have to be extra cautious with that. You will have to take your time because each succulent is very different. They have very different needs. They have very different requirements when it comes to growing them, so you will have to study each and every one of them, each and every one of their varieties, of their names. And if you're starting out by buying a lot of succulents, then it might be very difficult for you to adjust for each and every plant because we as people, we are people of habits. Now you might not notice it right away, but once you get to a certain kind of gardening style, then you will have a harder time adjusting that for other plants. Actually, me personally, I'm getting more success with growing succulents than with growing cacti. I have to really adjust my care when it comes to growing cacti because I haven't mastered them very well. While succulents, I've mastered them very well, which is why I'm not buying cacti right now, which could be the same for you if you're trying to buy a lot of different varieties of succulents. You might not readily adjust for each and every one of them because they have really different needs. The second advice that I would give myself is to prepare for your plants. Now, because we get very excited when it comes to succulents because they're really beautiful, they're really stunning, but sometimes we forget about that plants have needs. They need a good potting mix, they need a good pots, they need pots that really match their size, and also they need a space to which you can put them and to which they can grow healthily and beautifully. And if you're not prepared for those, if you don't have the potting mix ready for them and if you don't have the pots ready for them, then it might be very hard for you to grow them because you will still have to buy potting mix and buy pots, and delivery time right now at quarantine could take a while. So I would really recommend that you first buy potting mixes, pumice, you really invest in carbonized rice hull and also in pots before you start buying a lot of succulents. Because me personally, I've had an experience one time. I'm trying to acclimate succulents, but I don't have the right potting mix for them, so you might see that on my video how to acclimate succulents. Actually, the potting mix that I used in that video was a wrong type of potting mix. It had a lot of pumice in it, so a lot of people actually still asking me about that video, and I'm not doing that anymore. I already avoided that, so I would recommend that you avoid that as well, that you first really invest in your potting mix, in your space, and in your pots before you buy more plants. The next advice that I would give to a younger me is to avoid co-planting. Now, co-planting, mini gardens or mini succulent arrangements, they look really pretty, they look really nice, and actually I've started my channel making succulent arrangements, and because I did that because I saw a lot of garden YouTubers that is growing succulents in little arrangements, and they look really adorable, but they're really not good for very long. A lot of my succulents have suffered and died because they were very much neglected in a big succulent arrangement. Now, my personal experience with this might be different with yours, especially if you're not living in the Philippines, if you're living in the States, or if you're growing succulents indoors, under grow lights. Now, I found this when it comes to co-planting my plants. Some plants will need a lot more water than others. Now, we don't want to water our succulent at the same time. I've made a video about this and adjusting your care when it comes to succulents, especially if you're buying new succulents. Each succulent may have a different watering need, and you can only match watering for succulents of the same type. So for example, I have here I have here a sedum rubrotinctum. Now these are all sedum rubrotinctum. Even though they are at different stages of growth, they can be watered at the same time without harming the plant because they are the same plant. However, if you co-plant the succulent with a succulent like this that grows very differently, has different light requirements, and have to be watered very differently than this, then you might have a harder time growing them both at the same container. So I would recommend that you avoid co-planting your succulents, especially if you're the type that is collecting a lot of varieties that is rare, that is hard to buy, because some varieties will be very hard to replace once you kill them. Some succulents will not always be regularly sold at online sellers, so it might be very difficult to replace if you kill your succulents because of co-planting. This is also the reason why if you're buying a succulent that is co-planted, so if you're buying succulent sets that is grown at the same potting bag and there are more than one variety of succulent in there, I would recommend that you divide them and you plant them in different containers, because those succulents, they will not need the same amount of care. They might have very different light needs and watering needs. The fourth succulent advice that I would give to a younger me is to feel your plants. Now, this might sound awkward, feeling your plants. Why would you feel your plants? But actually, being a good succulent gardener is actually honing on your senses when it comes to succulents. It's actually training yourself to look for signs when your succulents need more or need less care. Now, other people, other beginners, they might want to be more confident with their growing, so they like to put everything on paper. They like to schedule things. For example, I will only gonna be watering my succulents once a week. That's what I'm gonna do so that I don't kill them. But actually, some succulents might not need watering right away. After a week, some succulents will need to be watered after 10 days. So if you're the type that sticks to a certain specific schedule, then it might not be good for your succulents, especially if you're growing a diverse variety of succulents. So me personally, I have to feel each of my succulents before I water them. I don't water them at the same time. I don't schedule my watering with them. Also, I watch out for signs of ethylation when it comes to succulents, and I watch out if they are getting uglier, because some succulents can tolerate a little bit less sun, so I put them at the back, and those succulents that need more sun and they get ugly if they don't get a lot of sun, I will put them here at the front so that they will stay beautiful, so that they will get all the sun that they need. So you have to feel your succulents. You have to know if they are etholating, if they are always thirsty, if they have a bad potting mix. Going with the schedule may not always work for you, and going with the same potting mix for each type of succulent or giving your succulent the same amount of light, it might not always work for you. You have to feel your plants. You really have to adjust your senses when it comes to plants. Now, this I cannot teach you because we really have very different growing conditions. You might be growing in the States, you might be growing in different places here in the Philippines, so you will have to train your own senses when it comes to succulents. And actually, I only did that for a little while after studying them, so you will have to be very observant when it comes to your succulents. The fifth and last succulent advice that I would give to a younger me is to don't feel bad about succulent death. Now, we all know succulents, they are not natural here at our place. Even if you're growing in another country, succulents may not be naturalized there. They might not come from there natively unless you're living in Mexico. And I would say that even if you're living in Mexico, not all places in Mexico are the same. So you might not have the same experience with growing succulents all over Mexico. You might have very different experiences in different places at Mexico. So succulents, they are very unique plants. They have very specific needs. So it's only natural that you're not always going to be able to give them the care that they need. And if you're not going to be able to give them their proper care, then they will die. But that doesn't mean that you have to be discouraged, that you will have to quit growing succulents just because one or two of your plants died. Because really, if you train yourself to observe why your succulents are dying, if you notice what is their problem and you adjust your care, then you will only get better with growing succulents. And also, if you get very much disappointed with one or two plant deaths in your garden, then you might be neglecting your other succulents as well, and that will only cause more deaths at your garden. So me personally, when I'm discouraged with succulents because a plant of mine died, then I will not be visiting the greenhouse very often, which in turn will make my other plants suffer. So if one of your plants recently died, then I would recommend that you just move on from it. Don't always think about that plant. Move on with other plants, or better yet, replace the dead plant, buy another plant of the same kind, and adjust your care with it so that you will know what makes it thrive and what kills it. Because that's what I do with my plants. Actually, some of my plants here are actually duplicates of plants that I've killed before. So by doing that, I'm trying to learn more about the succulents. I'm trying to adjust my care, and I think it only makes me better when it comes to caring for them. And right now, actually, I'm very proud with my succulents because they are growing really well, especially here at the greenhouse. They're looking very beautiful. And actually, I made a recent series of short videos here at YouTube, and those are titled Cali Plants Quick Bits. And I made a series about amazing succulent transformations because a lot of my succulents are actually looking better and better. And I think that's just because I'm also getting better at growing them. So it's not impossible for you to adjust your care, to adjust your habits, to be able to grow your succulents beautifully, because last year I was not able to have this much success with succulents. So in about a year, you will be able to get the traits, you will be able to get the habits that you need to grow succulents more successfully. Now also, another way to learn more about succulents is actually surrounding yourself with information about succulents. Now me personally, I always read articles about succulents, I always read websites about succulents, but that might not be the same for you, which is why I'm actually turning my knowledge, turning information into more consumable media, which is why I made a TikTok account. So you can check out the Cali Plants account at TikTok. It's named The Succulent Nerd. So you can follow me there. Also, I'm regularly sharing updates on my plants on my Facebook page and on my Instagram. So make sure to follow me on Cali Plants on Facebook and also on Cali Plants on Instagram. And also, if you haven't already subscribed, you can hit the subscribe below. And if you like my tips, then you can also hit the like down below. And I will see you guys on the next video. Bye-bye!